Hey everybody, so last week you may have seen a video I did that I answered the most common questions asked on Google about motorcyclists from the perspective of the questions asked as why do motorcyclists or why do motorcycles? And then I realised there's a lot more questions than why, so let's do how. How do motorcycles work? If you want to know how the engine works, I have a video called How Does a Motorcycle Engine Work? I have a video that answers how does a motorcycle gearbox work, and I also have videos on how to use the gears on a bike in my Tips for New Riders playlist. You can find mechanical explanations in my mechanical explanations playlist. How do motorcycle tests work? I have a video, oh this is going to be funny, I have a video on that. It's in my Tips for New Riders playlist. I can't really explain those concepts right now, as you can understand. How do motorcycles charge batteries? We can answer that one. So there is a thing called a magneto, which basically means there is a copper coil and a magnet. One spins, causing an electrical field, which creates electrical charge, like a dynamo, and that puts power back into your battery. If you have any problems with that charging system, your battery won't charge. It is the equivalent of an alternator. It's just a driven dynamo, basically. How do motorcycle engines work? I have a video on that, but I don't know what they thought they could, like, well, I guess if you're searching that, you might be looking for a video, and then you might find my video. Should we find out? Yes! There it is. There it is. How do motorcycle licenses work? Well, I've got a video explaining the licenses. In fact, I have two. You want to watch the updated one, which is easier to understand. How do motorcycle quick shifters work? They basically cut the ignition for a second, which reduces the pressure from the engine on the gearbox, which allows it to change gear. How do motorcycle brakes work? Using hydraulic action with pots. I actually have a video on how to, a couple of videos on how to rebuild brakes, and I also have one talking about why you need to bleed brakes. I think I've actually got one called How do Motorcycle Brakes Work. How do motorcycle intercoms work? Speakers in your helmet with a microphone, and then radio communications between the two. How do motorcycle helmets work? You put them on the head and they go bash, but you don't go bonk so much, hopefully. How do motorcycle restrictor kits work? Good question, actually. Two ways. Either an ECU, which is basically the electronic brain of the computer of the bike, will be changed, or it can be a mechanical stop in the throttle to stop the throttle opening fully, and it can even be a blocked off washer somewhere in the carburetor and things like that. It's normally physical, but it can be electrical these days. Can motorcycles use bus lanes? In the previous video I talked about how you can't most of the places, but you can in London, I believe. Go on the motorway, yes, but it needs to be over 49cc. Someone did correct me on this. I thought it was a 125cc requirement for the motorway, and it is in the sense that that's the way the licenses work, but it does say in the wording that it has to be no less than 40, no, it can't be under 49cc, so a 50 or a 100cc can, just still don't. Can motorcycles lane split? Yes, in the UK and particular places, we've been over that one. Can motorcycles use drive-throughs? I don't see why we can't. I've seen plenty of people doing it. Like years ago, people did it as a video. It was like, I'm going to get McDonald's in a drive-thru. And so like, I'm going to do it too. And I'm like, why? Who cares? But yeah, apparently it's a thing that's cool to do. And I've seen people do it, but I've also seen people refused, which is just a bit weird. Split lanes UK, yes, it's filtering. Can motorcycle helmets be recycled? I do not know that. Let's see, polystyrene on the inside, very difficult to recycle in my understanding. Fiberglass. I think that can be used as a ground down and used as a composite sort of added to concrete or something. I'm not sure, I might be wrong on that. Yeah, can motorbikes use bridle ways? No, that's for horses. Should motorcyclists have to wear a helmet? I believe that is a good idea because people are silly and won't, and they'll all die. So I think it's a worthwhile thing to say the minimum requirement in the UK is a helmet. I honestly think that gloves and more gear than that should be a minimum requirement for people's own safety because, well, but no, they're the only one who gets hurt. Let them get hurt. Should motorcyclists should wear bright colours? No, I don't agree we should, because otherwise, you know, why do you not have to have a bright orange car or something like that? Why can you have a silver car on a grey winter's day and you never turn your goddamn lights on? Motorcyclists should ride in a staggered formation. Yes, I agree with that. If you're riding together, staggered is better because you don't run into each other and you can see more. and you're in each other's mirrors opposed to each other's blind spots. Motorcyclists should not wear helmets. How should motorcyclists cross railroad tracks? Yeah, in the UK we have proper crossings. In America, I mean, I've seen Jake really struggle to get a bike over some railroad tracks. He got heat stroke at the time, but they're a lot taller, it would seem, than I imagine. So it's not like you can just get them over. But I mean, if you absolutely in an emergency need to get them over the tracks, I think a case of laying the bike like over the front and then lifting the back over and like taking it step by step. Ideally, just don't go across them. But I know some places in America that's not a choice. What should motorcyclists never assume? Should never assume you've been seen by someone. Where should motorcyclists ride? Everywhere, but mainly on the ceiling. What should motorcyclists always wear? A helmet and gloves and boots and a minimum protection of Kevlar jeans and a jacket, textile or leather, but a motorcycle jacket. That I think is the minimum you should wear, and I'm talking from experience and broken bits and stuff. And I had 2 pairs of trousers on, but they weren't Kevlar. And bike boots, but I had a broken foot. And bike gloves, but messed up my hand, yeah. Will motorcycles go electric? Yeah, inevitably they are going to go electric. That's not necessarily a bad thing. I know this is a huge argument. I've reviewed a lot of electrics. I've ridden a lot of electrics. Many more than most people who say that, well, many more being a requirement enough to be able to say more than most people who hate them. If you haven't ridden one, it's fair. But yeah, I think that is an inevitability. Be banned in 2035. No, they didn't include bikes on this. Every time they bring up the new rules about removing combustion engines, internal combustion engines, they always omit bikes from it because, I don't know, it's interesting. There's also an interesting thing is the fact that bike manufacturers aren't really showing their hand too much towards electrics. I know they're all showing a little bit, but it's not really fast or strong enough as it should be by this point. And I've heard about them possibly trying to go down the biofuels route rather than going electric, which I think a lot of people would be happy with, but I'm not sure if that's going to solve. But then electric's a big issue of itself. And before anyone says hydrogen, I have a video about search Spice 110 hydrogen vehicle or something, and just that's why hydrogen will never go into a motorcycle. It just doesn't work, it makes no sense, it's inefficient, it's worse. In big equipment like JCBs, that's where it'll prove its worth. Will motorcycles be banned in California? Probably, everything else is banned there, right? When do motorcycles have to be electric? There isn't a date as yet. When do motorcycles become MOT exempt? Well, they're exempt for the first 3 years of their life, and then, is there a classic point that you don't? Sorry, I just clicked on it because I had a vague memory of this being a thing, and it is. In May 2019, the MOT test for vehicles that were over 40 years old will be abolished. And this means that vehicles, including motorcycles, are MOT and vehicle taxed exempt when they reach the age of 40, which means that old vehicles don't need to be MOT'd. How can you make sense that a new vehicle, which is, 4 years old and has got the latest technology, is needing to be tested yearly, yet something 40 years old, 40-year-old technology and 40-year-old mechanics and parts is not needed to be done? I mean, I get maybe because they're not driven so much, maybe they sit in collections and things, but 40 years isn't that. I don't understand this country at times. Sometimes, like, all the rules seem to go one way, and then all of a sudden they bring out one other rule, and you're like, well, that just doesn't make sense. So are motorcyclists better drivers? No, they're riders. Are they better? The statistics on this, I thought that if you rode a bike on the UK roads, you were 16 times more likely to die in a crash. The reality is you're actually 57 times more likely to die in a crash opposed to someone who's like a passenger in a car. And that's from some government study. If you search like statistics for motorcycle deaths UK or something, it comes up. It's a 2015 study. Just keep that bit in mind. I think for the reason of that, we tend to have to be a bit more alert and a bit more focused. I mean, by the fact that we don't have the distractions of a car, we don't have the aids that cars have, I think we tend to be more attentive, and that is a huge difference between what makes someone a bad or a good driver. Are motorcyclists particularly vulnerable? Yeah, 57 times more likely to die in a crash. We're very, very vulnerable. Are motorcyclists douchebags? Reddit. Well, come on. I'm sick of being told to watch out for motorcyclists by. Wow. I'm sick of being told to watch out for motorcyclists by motorcyclists. If you have a biker family, remember, I'm sure you've seen, heard, or watched out for bikers and how we all need to work to make sure they're safe. Well, I'm sick of hearing this. I'm always safe driving. Meanwhile, everyone I know who rides a bike are the most ridiculous speed demons I know, but you know it's all of our jobs to make sure their 140 mile an hour two-wheel death traps don't kill them. I can understand where they're coming from with this, but I don't live where they live. I mean, where I live, the vast majority of people who are riding around at normal, safe speeds, keeping it, I mean, people on bikes, you know, we do like to enjoy some faster corners, but generally you're not going to actually push the speed limit of the road if you go to the right roads, like national. That's why I love national speed limits. 60 mile an hour speed limit with the inability to see around corners means I won't want to go that fast. And when you can go a bit quicker, the corners mean normally you can't go more than 60. I mean, of course, on some national country roads you can do a lot more than that, but there is a line between having a bit of extra fun and taking the piss. And that was something that a policeman said to me many years ago, was just like, if you don't take the piss, you'll probably be all right. Depends if someone's having a bad day or not, but yeah, that's what they said. But I will add on to this, you know, I've talked about, I've got a video called, like, Angry Motorcyclists, and I've expressed how people need to not smash wing mirrors off and not overreact. Also, don't believe that all motorcyclists are like the people you see in the compilation channels. They're just going for what gets views. If it gets people arguing about whether it was the biker that was actually at fault, even though he's trying to make out it wasn't, which is so often the case, it causes arguments in the comments, it gets views, it gets shared around, it gets people talking. That's what they want. They're not trying to represent motorcyclists in a good light. They're just trying to get views. So anyway, well, there you go. If you enjoyed this video, thank you for watching. Smash that like button, subscribe if you're new here on my way to 100k. And if you want to help support this channel, please consider doing that through Patreon. Otherwise, I will catch you soon. Bye-bye.